So, we're just going to review that real quickly, and then today we're going to understand how to prove the existence of God without referring to Shastra. So, the first thing we said was the one unique quality of Krishna that differentiates him from all other living beings is that he's the source of everything. And that is what verse, Agastya, you know? Is that the answer? Hare Krishna. What makes Krishna different than everyone? Point 1.
Bhagavad Gita 10.8.
Exactly right. Which says that he's the origin of everything material and spiritual, right? Yeah. Okay, that's point 1. Then point 2, another thing that makes him different than everyone. You know what that is? You know what that is? Hare Krishna. Always begin your answer by saying No, yeah, you should say but they say You going to say the also when I ask you a question? No. Okay. We will see. Point 2. Point 2. What? Exactly right. Yeah. Nitya Nityanam. So he's the maintainer of all living entities. He's eternal. All the other living entities are eternal, but he's the supreme eternal that maintains all the other eternals. Okay, so that's the second differentiating or quality of Krishna that makes him different than everybody else. Number 3. Agastya, you know number 3?
He knows what's happening in all bodies because he is Paramatma.
Yes, that's number 3. He's the super soul.
And
what verse is that? 13.23. Yes. Do you have that in your notes, Agastya? Write that down. How about the second one? What verse was that?
2.12 purport.
2.12, yes, in the purport.
Wait, 13.23? Yeah.
Huh?
And also 7.10. Yeah.
10 or 12? 7.10. Let's take a look at 7.10. No. No, it's 7.8. Do you have that in your notes?
No, I just wrote 2.12.
No, that's not it. No. No, so no, it's 13.23. Yeah. Oh, we're talking about the fourth one? The second one? It's 2.12. Second one is 2.12.
I think you refer to 710 also because the maintainer part. 212 and 7. Is that
No. Oh, 7.10 is a mention in the purport. Yeah. So yeah, the 7.10 it mentions in the purport, so you have to put in the purport. But that's for number 2. So number 2, both 2.12 and 7.10, the mention is in the purport of the verse from the Katha Upanishad 2.2. Something, I forget, 8, that he's the Inityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam, that he's the supreme eternal amongst all eternals, but what differentiates him is that he is the maintainer of all others. Okay, now number 3 we said is 13.23. Okay, number 4. What's number 4, Agastya?
7.12.
Yeah, what does it say?
Although he is the creator of the modes of material nature, he is not influenced. All other living entities are influenced by the three modes of material.
Very good. Very good. So that's 7.12. Microphone. That was 7.12. Okay. So now, point 5. Yes. Give him the microphone.
Krishna is not affected by any work that he does, and he is not attached to the fruits of action.
And he's not entangled.
Oh yeah, entangled.
But yeah, okay, it's good. Okay, and what verse is that supports that from Bhagavad Gita?
4.14.
4.14, yes, very good. Number 6, yes, Krishna.
13.14 to 13.17. Krishna has mutually contradictory qualities. Like he has no legs, but he is the fastest runner. He is one, but he can expand infinitely. And it means like when he has no legs, he has no material legs.
Yeah. Okay, point number 6 that differentiates Krishna from all other living entities. Okay, point 7.
Okay.
Yes, Agastya's brother. What's point 7? Start by saying,
Krishna presents all the possesses all the opulences.
Excellent.
Beauty, fame, wealth, power, knowledge, renunciation.
Beauty, fame, what?
Wealth.
What?
Wealth.
Wealth, yes, very good. Very good. And do you know what verse supports that?
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, 10.13.52.
Very good. Very, very good.
10.1 also.
Yeah.
And Bhagavad Gita 10.1?
Yeah.
Okay. Next. What's that?
7.1.
Yeah. Okay, next. Point 8. Okay, Krishna. Go ahead.
Sad Aishwarya Purnam.
That's point 7.
Huh?
That's point 7.
Oh, the siddhis?
Yes.
The siddhis are 0.7?
Point 8.
Yeah. So I was supposed to do 0.8, right?
Yeah. But you
So-
you mentioned point 7.
Oh, Sad Aishwarya Purnam is 0.7?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. So the siddhis, Anima Siddhi, smaller than the smallest. Laghima Siddhi, lighter than the lightest. Mahima Siddhi, bigger than the biggest. Prapti, can stretch hand very long. Prakanyam, can achieve any desire. Ishvata, Ishtva, can control any energy. Vasitva, bring anyone under your control. And Kama Vasitvaya, Kama Vasitsaita.
Kama Vasaita.
Kama Vasaita, be able to do anything you want. And Krishna's, yeah. And then, yeah, Krishna has these qualities like 100%.
Which one? Number 6 was what?
Number 6 was Iswata.
Isitva. Yeah, what does it
Isitva.
say?
Can control any energy.
I thought it said can defy the law of nature. That's basically like the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. And then number 7?
Vasitva. Bring anyone under your control.
Yes.
And number 8 is Kama Vasayata. Kama Vasit.
Yeah. Kamavasaita.
Be able to do anything you want.
Yes, such as create a universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. So these are 8 points. There are others, but we stopped there. The 8 points that differentiate Krishna from all other living entities. But wait a minute. We did mention some others.
We went to a proposal.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so what are the others?
Wait, input. Oh, who's the next?
You have the notes, Prabhu? Yes, number 9.
Number 9,
Can mystify everyone? Is that
10.
okay? What's number 9?
Krishna is one. He can turn into infinity, however he remains on one.
So what verse did we give? That was Ishopanishad?
Introvert.
Isho invocation. Krishna is not that's right. He's perfect and complete.
Yeah. And he never diminishes.
Okay, what was number 10?
It's
He mystifies,
yeah.
right?
So he has
It's called Aja.
16,000 wives, and then Narada Muni came to Dwaraka to see Krishna. He went to the first palace to see what Krishna was doing, and then there they were
Yeah, so there he saw
yeah.
his first wife, Rukmini. They had 10 kids, and so every time he went to another palace, Krishna was doing something else. He had a different wife. He had another set of 10 kids and one daughter, 10 boys and one daughter. And Narada Muni was shocked. He couldn't believe it. He's expanded himself. See, yogis can expand themselves 9 times. But in every expansion of themselves, they do the same thing. Krishna can expand himself infinitely, and every expansion he does different things. So it's mystifying. So yogis can partially do things like Krishna. There's some things they can't do, but there's some things they can do. But Krishna can do it completely and perfectly. They can't do it as well as Krishna. Well, because Krishna has all powers, they're just still limited. Okay, so number 11. What was number 11? You have it, Krishna?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Krishna can the following: manifest time, kala, manifest unique nature, swabhava, ability to purify, he can purify himself, samskara, can manifest desires, kama, and I wrote down materialistic activities, karma, so what would that actually be?
Well, All these things are coming from time,
Yeah.
right? So karma means all these things are limiting all living entities, but Krishna creates them and he's not limited by them. That's the point. Okay, so number one was kala. Number two was
Swabhava.
swabhava. Yeah,
Number
it's the nature one acquires through association, and samskara is purification.
Oh yeah.
Right?
And kama is manifesting desires, and then karma is materialistic activities. Like, does he make them, or?
No, these are things that limit human beings, or even the demigods, but not Krishna. He created them, but he's not limited by them. Okay, and then? And that was it, or one more?
There's one more.
Yeah.
Modes of material nature, guna.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So 12. Anybody?
Very good. And then 12?
There was 3 points in 12, like,
What? 3 point?
yeah.
Which one?
One, he has a
No, what verse?
Brahma Samhita verse 1.
Okay.
He has a transcendental body made of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Nothing comes before or after him. And 3, he is the cause of all causes.
Very good. So these are things that differentiate Krishna from all others. Right? And there are more, but we stop there. They're unique qualities that Krishna has. Okay, what was the verse for number 10? There was a Srimad Bhagavatam verse. Huh? 10? What? It was 10.10. It was 10th canto. What chapter, what verse? Did you write it down? Did I tell you, or I didn't tell you?
Yeah, for the mystic, the Aja quality we didn't. Yes, I didn't.
Okay. I'll tell you later. I have it. All right. So, now we are going to study how to convince a person that God exists without referring to Shastra. Okay? So here, I'll have to print out some more, but here's 2. Give one to Prabhu. I'll print out more after the class. Now, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.35. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.35. Srimad Bhagavatam 2. No. This is now how to prove God exists without using Shastra. Bhagavatam 2.2.35. Got it? That's today's lesson. Two point 2.2.35. Okay? Now this is called self-inspection. How by looking into yourself carefully, you can prove that God exists. This is interesting, isn't it? You can tell your kangaroo and your teacher in school, the kangaroo, you can prove God exists without using any Bible or Bhagavad Gita or any scripture. Yes?
Can you share homework?
Okay, we're going to get to that. Let's just finish this first. So, this goes through 6 points. All right? So, point 1. Oh, here, I got one more. So you can...
Is that yours?
No. So point 1 is becoming absolutely sure that you exist as a unique person. Okay, so so the first question so let's say you're speaking to an atheist and you say, I don't believe God exists. Okay, well, I can convince you that he exists. Well, no, you can't. Well, just listen. Point 1, are you a person? So if he's a real jerk, he'll say, no. So you say, okay, just stand there, close your eyes. Why should I do that? So I'm going to hit you over the head with a chair. No, you're not. That means you're a person. Because if you were not a person, you wouldn't object. Right? But the fact that you're objecting, that I'm going to hit you over the head with a chair, means you're a person. So we just proved point 1 to the atheist. If he says, go ahead, you say, okay, but close your eyes. I don't want you to see how hard I'm going to hit you, and I'll probably knock you out. And I said, no, you're not. I said, that means you're a person. Okay. Got it? Are you a unique individual person? I have met people who say, no, I'm not. They're just jerks, see? So then I said, well, close your eyes and bend down. He said, what for? I'm going to hit you over the head with a hammer, and then I'm going to urinate on you. He said, no, you're not. That means you're a person. You see. Okay. So there was a famous French philosopher named Descartes. And he tried to eliminate everything that he was not sure of. So he eliminated God, and he eliminated everything except one thing he couldn't eliminate. That was, he said, I can't eliminate myself because I think, therefore I am. Right? Because, you know, how was he eliminating things? He was eliminating things by thinking. So he couldn't. So now he became sure of one thing, that he exists. Then he reconstructed the whole universe, including God, from that point. The fact that he exists. And you're going to see here, in a similar way, we're going to be able to prove that God exists without using Shastra. But the first and most important point is to identify yourself as a unique individual. And Descartes did also. It says here, Descartes attempted to do this when he eliminated everything in his existence of which he was not sure. Yeah, he wasn't sure God exists. Right? He arrived at the conclusion, I think, therefore I am. This is the perception of self-identification, or the positive feeling that I exist. So that's point 1. Okay? Now, as soon as they accept that, then it's going to be very easy to prove that God exists. Right? Now, point number 2. Existence as a thinking and perceiving individual indicates that there is a difference between the perceiver, or the seer, and the perceived, the seen. For example, one sees his hand. Okay, look at your hand. One sees his leg. Look at your leg. Right? And in general, his body. Look at your body. Right? You know, there's nose, ears. You can see all these things. Right? He is the seer, and his body is the seen. Right? There is, therefore, a difference between the seer and the seen. As soon as you say, this is my hand, this is my nose, this is my ear. So, therefore, there's I and mine. As soon as you start identifying things like, this is my hand, well, that means that I am, and this is something that I possess. So there's a I and that, or the I and a thing. There's the seer and the seen. There is therefore a difference between the seer and the seen. See verses 13, 27 to 35. Also, God is the actual seer, and we are the seen. This goes even further. That let's take a look at those verses. 13, 27 to 35. O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. So you are the knower of the field, and there's a field of activities. So that means just by your very existence as a unique person, you are the seer, and everything you see is the seen. Right? So that 1327 establishes that you are a seer, but there's a greater seer seeing you. You know who that is? Yes, Paramatma. So this 1327 to 35 establishes that God is the actual, or Krishna is the actual seer, and we are the seen. But yet, 1327 establishes that whatever you see, right, is a combination of the seer and the seen. Know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. So the field of activities is your body, the world, and you're the knower of the field, you're the seer. But there are two knowers. There is you as an individual and Paramatma. And for the Paramatma, you are the seen, or I am the seen for Paramatma, right? And Krishna is the seer. So both material nature and the living entity, which were existing before the creation of the cosmos, are explained in this verse. Whatever is created is but a combination of the living entity and the material nature. There are many manifestations like trees, mountains, and hills which are not moving, and there are many existences which are moving, and all of them are but combinations of material nature and the superior nature, the living entity. Without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity, nothing can grow. The relationship between material nature and the spiritual nature is eternally going on, and this combination is affected by the Supreme Lord. It's caused by the Supreme Lord. That's what he wants to say. Therefore, he is the controller in both the superior and inferior nature, of both the superior and inferior natures. The material nature is created by him, and the superior nature is placed in this material nature, and thus all these activities and manifestations take place. Anyway, that verse establishes the seer and the seen. Okay? But we don't have to refer to it. I'm just giving you that as a reference. So this says, whenever you say, this is my hand, that establishes that you're different than the hand. Now you could cut off the hand, you would still exist, right? So you are the seer and the hand is the seen. Okay. So that's point 2. So the first point was I exist as a unique individual. Point 2 is I am the seer, and everything I see is the seen. That means there's a difference between you and everything else that you're seeing. Okay? I am the seen, I am the seer, and everything I see is the seen. So that means there's a difference between the seer and the seen. Just like, this is my hand. I'm seeing my hand. That means I, the seer, is different than the hand. And one way to prove it is, if you cut your hand off, you continue to exist as a seer. Now I see my hand, but it's cut off. It's no longer part of my body. So you're still seeing the hand. So that means you're different than the hand. Okay.
I'm the seer, and everything I see is seen.
Yeah, it's the seen. So there was this famous Mayavadi in India called Ramana Maharishi. You ever hear of him? He's very famous. He's South Indian, by the way. I think he was in Andhra also. Yeah. So anyway, he was famous Mayavadi, and this is like at least maybe 100 years ago, 80 years ago. So many people would come to him because he was a sadhu, and they'd say, you know, Maharaj, I don't have a child, I want to have a child, right? Or, Maharaj, I just lost my brother, he died. Or, Maharaj, I don't have a good job. Or, Maharaj, my mind is always agitated. So he would always say, he said, before I tell you something, please find out who this I is, and then come back and tell me. So here's a Mayavadi, see. So people would get confused. They said, you know, why is he asking me who obviously I'm the I. He said, but you know, but you go find out who the I is, and then you come back and tell me. So, in other words, he was implying that there's a difference between the seer and the seen, right? I'm seeing my brother is dead. I'm seeing that my mind is agitated. I'm seeing that I don't have a good job, right? So who is this I that's seeing? Because people say I don't have a good job. My brother just died. I don't have a child. I just lost my brother. I am agitated. So he said, tell me who this I is, and then come back and I'll tell you something. So, the ultimate seer and the seen, of course, Krishna is the ultimate seer, and the prakriti, or the material nature, is the seen, right? And living entities are the seen by the Lord. Right? He is the Purusha, and everything else is prakriti. Prakriti, a general meaning of, a generic meaning of prakriti is that which is controlled. So, we're controlled by the Lord. Material nature is controlled by the Lord. So he's the ultimate Purusha, or ultimate seer. Okay, now that's point 2. Now point 3. All the instruments for seeing, the objects of seeing, and the process of seeing are all provided to the seer by nature, or Krishna. One who sees things beyond himself by ordinary vision has no power to see or move independently. All our ordinary actions and perceptions depend on various forms of energy supplied by nature by different combinations. You see? So, first point is I'm a unique individual. Second point is there's a difference between myself and everything I see. I am the seer and everything I see is the seen. Number 3, the process of seeing. Everything I see and all the objects that I see and the instruments of seeing, these things have been given to me. I didn't create them. You see? So therefore, I'm not independent. Point 1. The instruments for seeing, that's the eyes and the mind and everything. Number 2, the objects that I see. And number 3, the process of seeing. There's a process. You know, if you ever look at this process, you look at something, what happens is an inverted image of it goes to your, when you see, your eye inverts the image, and then it sends that image to your mind. A lot of things are happening. If one day we'll actually study the eye, you'll see how complicated it is. And there are nerves that go from the eye to the mind that transport the image, and then they bring it back up right again. All these things are happening. You don't realize, but it's been studied by the scientists. So, and they're amazed by it too, that the eye is such a complicated instrument. You know, how did it happen by accident? You know, I mean, your kangaroo is telling you it all happened by accident. Did he say that? Creation.
That's what they believe in, and they don't let you talk about religion.
Yeah. So the kangaroo is telling you it all happens by accident, but how could all these things happen by accident? They're so complicated.
Camera of the phone.
Yeah.
Went through so many designs.
Yes. And it's just imitating the eye. Trying to, yeah, not even doing a good job. Yeah. Huh? The camera didn't happen. It took a lot of people and a long time to be able to make it to this level of perfection, but it's still not perfect. Yeah. Okay, so now next there's a analysis of this process of seeing or perceiving. First of all, you have 5 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. Then you have 5 objects of the senses: smelling, tasting, form, touch, and sounds. Then you have 5 senses of action, or working senses: the hands, the legs, speech or voice, evacuation organs, reproductive organs. Okay, so you have the knowledge gathering senses, that's the eyes, ears, nose. You have the objects of the senses: smell, taste, form, touch, sound. You have the 5 working senses by which you it also helps you to acquire information: hands, legs, speech, evacuation organs, reproductive organs. And then you have the 11th sense, which is the mind. And then above the mind is the intelligence and the ego. So the mind functions as a 6th sense in 2 ways. It receives information and it stores it in the memory. The intelligence is superior to the mind because it has the power to differentiate and make judgments like this is good, but that is bad. So this attribution of value to what's being seen and discernment makes the intelligence superior to the mind. The mind accepts and rejects things simply on the basis of feelings. But the intelligence actually analyzes whether it's good or not good. it's moral or immoral, etc. See? So all this is going on through this perception or seeing, right? You have all these instruments, and you have all the objects, and you have the process of perception. It's all been supplied to us. We didn't create any of it. We're using it. It's like you can use the internet, you can use your computer, but you didn't create it. You don't even know really how it works exactly. So in the same way, we're using this body and these senses, and we're seeing all these things in this world, all the objects, and there's the process of seeing, but we don't know how it works exactly, but we can use it still. Right? So it's all been, so it says the objects of perception of the senses are all products of the natural energy. The senses of perception and the objects of senses are all provided to us. The individual does not have independent power of perception or motion. The individual does not have independent power of perception or motion as the seer in the process of seeing the seen. So,
Individual does not have independent power of
perception or motion, and then before the seer and the seen, you have to put in the process of seeing the seen. Actually, you can cross out the seer and the seen. You have to say he doesn't have independent power of perception or motion in the process of seeing the seen.
That's point 4.
No, it's point 3. This is all point 3. So you're not into. In other words, you're the seer, and everything you're seeing is the seen, but you're not independent. It's all been provided. So this is a very important point. Number 3 is extremely important because there's a hint now that there's someone greater than you, because he supplied all these things. Right? You can say it was nature, but that's not an explanation. It's an explanation for dummies, but it's not a real explanation. Yes.
What if they say it's your parents? But then who's the first parent?
Did your parents create your mind? Did they create your eyes? Did they create the mountain that you're looking at?
They'll say yes.
No, that would be stupid. Did they create the mountain? Your parents? Okay. Did they create your eye? Did they create your mind? No. Do they know how the mind works? Yes. So the seer is thus dependent. This is the main point. The seer is thus dependent on the arrangement of nature to see and perceive. The instruments of seeing, the objects of seeing, and the process of seeing are all provided to the seer by nature. So we're not saying God, we're saying nature for the time being. Right? Okay, that's point 3, right? Number 1, I am a unique individual. Number 2, I am the seer and everything I see is seen. Number 3, I'm not an independent seer because the instruments of seeing, the objects of seeing, and the process of seeing have all been supplied to me. So I'm not an independent seer. I'm dependent on nature right now. Right? Okay, number 4. Our power of seeing or perception is limited. I can't see beyond the wall. Can you see what's on the other side of the wall? Huh? No. So we're limited in our seeing. Right? And we're limited also by the 4 defects. I make mistakes. I'm easily illusioned. The senses are imperfect. And I have a cheating propensity. So we can make a conclusion now that we are conditioned or limited by nature's energy. We are dependent and limited. We're not independent, Huh?
Could you repeat the 4 defects?
Yeah. It's written there on that sheet. Everything I'm saying, I'm just reading from the sheet. Okay. Okay. So now, step 5. Now the step 4, right? Step 4 is very important. Step 3 hints that we're dependent, that we're not independent in seeing, and then step 4 makes it very clear that we're limited, and we're conditioned by the material energy or nature, because we have these 4 defects that we were born with. Now, number 5. Huh? I'm going to give you, I gave a printed out sheet. I'll give it to you. You just listen. I'll give it to you. And then you have to study this, because this is actually very subtle. No, don't you say it. Let them first. No, you have to set them up first. So one day you can go into school and say, I believe in God. And they also, yeah, you're crazy, there's no God. And then you can do it. Okay. You set them up to knock them down. Yeah. Okay, now number 5 is very profound. It says, the seer is fundamentally different than the seen by virtue of the fact that the seer feels dissatisfaction due to the limitations of the conditioned, of being conditioned by nature.
Seer is us, right?
Yes. See, we're not talking about God, we're talking about nature. But we will get to God. So it says that the seer feels dissatisfaction due to the limitations, and instead of, you can cross out conditioned material existence, but say, due to the limitations of being conditioned by nature. Okay? And what is that conditioning? It is basically it is kala, and it is swabhava, and it is samskara, and it's kama and karma and so forth. We're conditioned by these things, and we're limited. We're not independent at all. And because of that, we feel dissatisfaction. For example, a golfer hits the golf ball toward the hole, right? You have to get the golf ball in the hole. You ever play golf? You ever play golf? You have. So isn't that the whole game? You have to get the ball into the hole, right? So, the ball misses the hole, and the golfer becomes dissatisfied, right? Or you can play basketball and you throw the ball to get into the net, right? And you miss, so you feel dissatisfied. You say, you go like that, right? Does the golf ball express dissatisfaction? No. There's a fundamental difference between the golf ball and the golfer. The golfer is a conscious being, and the golf ball is made of matter but lacks consciousness. The golfer's body is also made of matter like the golf ball, but the golfer's body has consciousness in it, and the golf ball does not. The consciousness of the golfer expressed by his dissatisfaction indicates that consciousness is not a material substance like a golf ball or a material body. Consciousness is not a product of any material combination. If it was, then the golf ball would also express dissatisfaction or happiness. Or it would try and go into the hole, yeah. It would do so many things, right? If it was not just matter. You know, I mean, you could put a chip into the golf ball so that every time it goes into the hole, somehow or other, right?
The new robot technology, you might create that, self-driving,
Right, a self-driving like a Tesla, right? Yeah, but that someone put the chip in there with the intelligence to guide, right? It didn't happen by accident, just by, you know, and the chip itself did not happen by accident, right? So there's always some person behind it, some intelligent person, right?
and in spite of the golf ball that is free.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't go into the ball, if it misses, it doesn't scream, ah! You know, it doesn't feel pain, doesn't feel happiness. You know, it's still a dumb ball. Right? So consciousness of the golfer expressed by his dissatisfaction indicates that consciousness is not a material substance like a golf ball or a material body. Consciousness is not a product of any material combination. Some scientists argue that matter develops the power to see and move as part of a certain organic development or evolution. Such an argument is not plausible or scientific because there's no evidence that matter has at any time produced a living and conscious being. There's no evidence that matter can randomly order itself to the point of creating a conscious living being with all the complex structural and intricate processes inherent in consciousness. Idle talks about the future development of matter into conscious moving living entity is deceptive because there has never been any proof that matter has developed either consciousness or the power of seeing or moving in any part of the world. By use of the discerning power of intelligence, we can understand that matter and consciousness are different and that consciousness is not a result of material combination. Okay, so this is point 5. The difference between a golf ball and the golfer. And this fundamental difference between the seen and the seer. Because the seer can express dissatisfaction. And as long as the seen is a material object, it does not express any dissatisfaction or pleasure. So we said consciousness is perceived as when you express satisfaction or dissatisfaction. That means you're conscious. So you can hit the wall, it doesn't complain. You can hit the carpet, it doesn't complain. But if we hit Krishna 1, he'll complain. So therefore there's a difference between Krishna 1 and the carpet and the wall. Okay. So now, now we have 5 points. Number 1, I am a unique individual. Number 2, I am the seer and everything I see is seen. Number 3, Jai Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. We'll finish after the
Yes. I'm not singing.
Okay, I'll give you support after second line.
Yeah. Yeah, start. काय? यश ते बंद करते ते. तुझे एक मम्मा को भी दे दो. पुढे जा रजा. पोझिशन घे ना नीट रजा. आणि यार अगं घाबरते काय मी आहे ना. अरे बाबा तू मी आय नो असं नाही करायचं. तू इतकं छान म्हटलं त्या दिवशी माझी बेबीने.
यशोमती नंदन ब्रजवर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना.
यशोमती नंदन ब्रजवर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना.
गोपी परनतन मदन मनोहर.
गोपी परनतन मदन मनोहर.
कालिया दमन विदान.
कालिया दमन विधान.
अमल हरि नाम अमिया विलासा.
अमल हरि नाम मिया विलासा.
विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बोरा.
विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बोरा.
बंसी बदन सुवासा.
बंसी बदन सुवासा.
ब्रज जन पालन सुरकुलनाशना
व्रजजन पालन सुरकुलनाशन
नंद गोदन रखवाला
नंद गोदन रखवाला
गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर
गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर
सुंदर नंद गोपाला
सुंदर नंद गोपाला
मुनत कर गोपी बसन हर
यमुना तट चर गोपी बसन हर
रस रसिक कृपा मोया
रास रसिक कृप मोया
श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर
श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर
भक्ति विनोदाश्रय
भक्ति विनोदाचार्य हरे कृष्ण
नंदन यशोमती नंदन व्रजवर नागर गोपी नंदन
यशोमती नंदन व्रजवर नागर गोकुल रंजन कान्हा गोपी परन धन मदन मनोहर कालिया दमन विधाना गोपी परन धन मदन मनोहर कालिया दमन विधाना हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय जय श्री राधा नीला माधव की
Okay, so now we're going to finish. Point number 6. So first point was, I am a unique individual. Second point is, I am the seer and everything I see is the seen. Third point is that I'm not independent in seeing because the instruments of seeing, the eyes, mind, all that, the process of seeing and the objects of seeing are all being supplied to me. So I'm not independent in seeing. Number 4, I'm limited in seeing. Number 5, there's a fundamental difference between me, the seer, and what I see. In other words, if I see any material object, the difference is I feel pleasure or pain. And the example is the golfer and the golf ball, right? And that was 4, right?
5.
Yeah, 5. That's 5, right? Yeah, and so there's a difference between the seer and the seen, meaning a material object. That the seer can feel happiness or distress, or satisfaction or dissatisfaction, and the object itself doesn't, because it doesn't have consciousness, doesn't have soul. But we don't have to say that. It's just that there is a fundamental difference. Okay. Now, number 6. Something cannot be made animate, meaning something cannot move without an intelligent person behind it. Intelligence gives direction like a higher authority. A living being cannot see or move or eat or do anything without the use of intelligence. Everyone is dependent on their own intelligence or that of a superior being. An example may help to understand this crucial point. So nothing can move without an intelligent person behind it. So, example. A person buys a toy train set, and constructs it. When ready, he takes control of the remote control and begins to direct the train. The train moves according to the will of the driver along a predetermined trajectory along the tracks. Sometimes the train goes forward and sometimes backward. Sometimes it stops, all by the will, and all this by the will of the driver. Although a material construct, the train, never moves by its own will. It did not construct itself. It was conceived and built by a superior intelligence to matter, and it is moving by a superior intelligence, its driver. So the train set didn't build itself, right? Some person, intelligent person, built the train set. You bought it, and now you're using it. But you're directing the train. You can go forward, it can go backwards, it can stop, or it can go. Right? So the person made it is an intelligent person. The person using it is an intelligent person. And the train itself is completely dependent on the driver. Yes?
We used to have the summer classes when you used to teach us in the summer. You told us this, and then I went to someone and then told him this, like one of my friends, and then he's like, who's behind Krishna? There's an intelligent person behind Krishna.
Well, no. See, that's the so-called ultimate argument of the impersonalist atheists. Jai. But no, because, like for example, who's behind the internet? For the time being, the United States controls the internet. Who's behind the United States? Well, you have the President, the Congress, and so forth. Who's behind them? Well, let's say you have God. Who's behind God? No, that's the definition of God. He's the origin of everything. Everything doesn't happen from nothing. That's the whole point. No one ever created something from nothing. How is God creating? He's creating with his own energies. He's the source of all energies. You see?
The definition of God itself is everything emanates from him.
Yeah. And it's a fact. I mean, where did all this matter come from? It's all made of energy. There has to be an original source of energy. And yeah, there is something behind all this energy. It's called God. He's the origin of everything. And then you have the verse, Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramakrishna Satchitananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. He's the cause of all causes. So, look at Stephen Hawking. He says, there are black holes. At first he says the black holes only absorb energy. Then after that, 30 years later, he revised his theory. He said, no, it can also spew out energy. Yeah, because where did the energy come that's in the universe? It came from some source. What is that original source? That's God. Is it an impersonal source? Impossible. We just proved that it can't be individual. There has to be some intelligence behind it. Nothing moves. Nothing is animate without some intelligence behind it.
Maybe the black hole is the breathe in, breathe out of.
No, the black hole is Mahavishnu. But they're just so arrogant they refuse to accept that it's a person, because then they have to accept there's a God. So they keep it impersonal. But nothing. This is a point. Everything you see, the car, does it move on its own? No, there's someone driving it. Even if it's on autopilot, there's still someone behind that autopilot. And how do you know that? Because if the car is hacked and they cut off the relationship between the autopilot and a satellite or whatever it is that's directing it, immediately it stops, or it goes off the road and has an accident. So there's always some intelligent person behind any movement. Things just don't move on their own. Okay. So something cannot be animate without an intelligent person behind it. Intelligence gives direction, like a higher authority. A living being cannot see or move or eat or do anything without the use of intelligence. Everyone is dependent on their own intelligence or that of a superior being. An example may help us to understand this crucial point. A person buys a toy train set and constructs it. When ready, he takes control of the remote and begins to direct the train. The train moves according to the will of the driver along a predetermined trajectory along the tracks. Sometimes the train goes forward, and sometimes backward, sometimes it stops, all by the will of the driver. And although a material construct, the train never moves by its own will. It did not construct itself. It was conceived and built by a superior intelligence to matter, and it is moving by a superior intelligence, its driver. Intelligence is all-pervading in human civilization and in nature. An intelligent man can understand by honest examination of himself, and just as his will is driving his body's movements or that of the toy train set, so there is a superior will and intelligence driving the entire universe. There you go. This is proof by comparison. Every being has his intelligence. If one fails to take advantage of such intelligence, he becomes a deranged person. For example, a person drives his car down the street. The street and all the arrangements such as the red light, stop signs, speeding limit sign, and all rules for safe driving are made by the government. The driver uses his intelligence to follow the form intelligence of the government agents who have established the rules and the thoroughfares for driving. The government has also established rules for the vehicles used for driving. The car manufacturers must use their intelligence to build cars that comply with the rules made by the government. If a person follows the rules made by superior intelligence of the government people, he may drive according to his limited range of free will. If he does not follow the rules, he will be punished and is considered either less intelligent or, in more chronic cases, disobedience, a deranged person. Every person uses his intelligence to follow the direction of a higher intelligent authority. The higher intelligent authority is like a father giving direction to his child. There are many layers of intelligent authorities, and the highest authority is the Supreme Person or God. In any organization, there are many layers of authorities, and there is a final authority or ultimate director. For example, in any city, there's a layered hierarchy of authorities, such as the mayor, his advisors, the different departments like the police, fire, sanitation, transportation, health, education, welfare, etc. So, you see, this is all by comparison now. So there has to be some ultimate intelligent person that's running the whole show. Just like there's a CEO in a company. And he has there's a whole hierarchy of intelligent people. And there's one person on the top of it. Or there's a group of people at the top of it, and there's one dominant person in that group. In the same way, the universe is running like that. If you say there's no authority, there's no intelligence, it all happened by accident, it's crazy. Because Microsoft didn't happen by accident, Google didn't happen by accident, Facebook didn't happen by accident, Twitter didn't happen by accident. But then you say the whole universe happened by accident? It's a crazy idea, and there's no there's no rhyme or reason to it. So, here up until now we haven't used any Shastra. Point 7, to understand who God is, you need Shastra. But these first 6 points you don't need any Shastra. You just read reason and logic. But through reason and logic you get to the point that there has to be some ultimate intelligent authority in the universe. And it's got to be a person, it can't be an it. Okay. So, point 7, you have to use Shastra. You have to go to Bhagavad Gita to find out who is that ultimate intelligent person. And so point 7 is basically all these 12 points that we made that differentiates Krishna from everyone else. And no one else is equal to or greater than Krishna. He's the most intelligent being, and he's the supreme controller, and he's the cause of all causes. What do you think?
I'm ready to share this with Seattle to study with through the app, through the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I think they need to hear this.
All right, Krishna, you ready? Yeah. Who made Krishna? Who made Krishna? You know, you're going to get back to Krishna. You go, well, who made Krishna? No, Krishna is, is the cause of all causes. He's the source of all the energies. Yeah, man, you cannot have all this matter without having a source. Like, an example is like this. Let's say you want to make H2O in the laboratory. So you have to buy some H and you have to buy some O, right? and then you have to buy a Bunsen burner, and you have to buy maybe a vacuum tank that's pressurized, and all these things you have to buy, and then you can connect the H to the O and make it H2O, right? Well, but no, we're talking about making the water, not talking about just water. How do you make the water? You have to get some H, and you have to get some O, right? So now, it took us all that effort to make H2O in the laboratory, and we had to spend a lot of money, because you probably have to get a very sophisticated pressurized tank and control the temperature and all that stuff, right? Okay, now let's figure out, how did the ocean get there? Where did all the H come from? Where did all the O come from? Where did all this pressurized tank come from? Where did the Bunsen burner come from to make such a huge quantity of water, right? Are you saying that it all came from nothing? That's crazy. It can't come from nothing. By the way, the Christians say that God created everything from nothing. It's not true. But because they have an incomplete understanding of God, they say that God created everything from nothing. No, you can't make something from nothing. You have to make something from something, right? That's why Prabhupada says that the life comes from life. It doesn't come from dead things. Right? You can't produce life from dead things. You can only produce life from living things. So, you want to produce some DNA, you have to get it from a human being. Can you get DNA? Let's ask this question: can you get DNA from a dead person? You can analyze the DNA of a dead person, but can that dead person's DNA produce a life? No. It can produce the DNA while the person's alive. After they're dead, you can analyze the DNA of the dead person, but you can't use that dead DNA to produce life. You see? So life comes from life. Prabhupada, just like Einstein says E equals mc squared, Prabhupada said life comes from life. It's more profound than Einstein's E equals mc squared. So, if there's life in this world, it came from some original life. That's Krishna. You see, that's another way of defeating their argument. Nowhere have you ever seen dead things produce life. I'll give you everything. You know what's in an egg. The scientists know what's in an egg. They know every constituent of the egg. Right? But can they make a real egg? No, they've never been able to do it. Although they know what's in it. They have the whole thing analyzed. They can tell you every chemical in the egg. But you can put them all together. And so one time, Swarup Damodar, who was Prabhupada's disciple, and he was a PhD. While he was still getting his PhD at the University of California in Irving, the Irving campus, Prabhupada said, challenge your professor. If they're saying that, life comes from chemicals. He's saying, well, you ask a question to your professor. If I give you all the chemicals, can you produce life? What is his answer? Well, not now, but maybe in the future. See, they're saying it comes from chemicals, but they can't produce it right now. They're saying, well, in the future we might be able to do it. So it's a bunch of nonsense. Okay. So life comes from life. So all the life and animation you see in this universe, it comes from a superior living being with superior intelligence who has unlimited energy. So now you have the 12 points to prove to them that it can only come from this person, not anybody else. Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay? Huh? Okay, homework. Yeah, you can read your homework. You're using the Socratic method. And the 12 points that we studied to convince a person that Krishna is God.
I didn't use every single 12 points.
That's okay, that's all right.
At the end, actually, I did. So, God does exist. First off, you would ask the person some questions using the Socrates method. Okay, so the atheist says, there's no God. You say, okay, then what's the origin of all matter? The atheist says the Big Bang. But who created the Big Bang?
See, the origin of all matter is matter. There was this big lump, and then it exploded.
Yeah.
So they didn't say it came from nothing. They can't say it came from nothing because then they would look foolish. It came from something. But they're saying it's something dead. Right? And then they blew it up. Or somebody, first of all, how did it blow up? By itself? You see, there are a lot of holes in that logic. Go ahead. They can't say it came from nothing because the nothing comes from nothing. So it came from something. So their beginning is a lump of something called matter.
And then you say, but who created the Big Bang? Who's the origin of this? The base. And then the atheist says, but science said so. So what do they say about who created the Big Bang? The atheist says, I don't know. And then you say, that's okay, now let's find out who the origin of matter is. And then you say, God is the origin of all things material and spiritual. He is the maintainer of all living entities. He is always cognizant of everyone's feelings because God is always in our...
Okay, no, wait a minute. First of all, before you mention God, you have to say, do you accept that you can understand something by comparing it, you can understand something you don't know by comparing it to something that you do know? They'll say, I don't understand what you mean. See, this is questions and answers. You went right away to an answer, and he'll say, well, I don't believe in God. So, I mean, he would stop you there. You say, okay, but you established that he doesn't know where the lump of matter came that blew up, right? You say, okay, fine. Then you say, would you accept that you can understand something you don't know by something you do know? You say, well, what do you mean by that? You say, well, for example, there's a lump of matter, let's call it a big lump of marble. And a sculptor buys that marble, brings it home, and he sculpts it into, like, let's say the sculptor was Rodin. Rodin was a famous French sculptor. And there's a very famous sculpture that he made called The Thinker.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Now he started with one lump of matter that looked like nothing. You know, I mean, when I say nothing, if you're not a sculptor and you look at it, you say, I don't see anything in it. But the sculptor, Rodin, he was able to see something in it that you don't see because he's more intelligent or he's more trained or whatever. And he brought that lump to his studio and he carved it into this statue that you see. It's very famous, called The Thinker. So he started with a lump and he made it into something. Okay? So we know Rodin. We know The Thinker. So if we analyze that, do you think we could learn something about the origin of creation? So what do you think he'll say? So in other words, you're starting with the known. You're theoretically saying, if we analyze something that we know, because we're talking about how matter in a lump became this whole complicated universe. So do you think if we study a lump of matter that was transformed into something wonderful, we could find out more about how this original lump became this universe? Okay? You're asking a question. And he'll probably say yes. He'll probably say yes. If he says no, then you say, well, then we're stuck. You don't know, and I don't know, and you refuse to accept any way to go forward, so that means we're both going to be ignorant. But let's use our reason and logic to see if we can study some lump of matter, like Rodin did, and transformed it into something wonderful called the thinker. If we analyze how he did it, maybe we can figure out how this lump became this universe. Obviously, they accept that there was some lump of matter, right? They can't say, no, there was nothing and some magician came. No, you can't say that, because that means that the magician is God. So they just say there's just a lump. Okay, fine. Now let's analyze the lump through the example of Rodin, or through the example of anyone that takes matter and makes it into something, right? So if he says yes, now you got him, because Rodin's an intelligent person. He's a person. He's not a lump himself, and he has intelligence, and he takes a lump of matter and makes it into something wonderful. So therefore, by comparison, there has to be some supreme intelligent person who either he made the lump explode, or he made the lump and then made it into the universe. See, you got them on 2 points. Point one, they're accepting that there was a lump of matter. They don't accept that there was an intelligent person. But by comparison, here Rodin takes a lump of marble and makes it into something wonderful, using his intelligence, you see. So then, by comparison, we can say that means there has to be some intelligent, supremely intelligent person who not only is intelligent, but first of all, they're the source of the lump also. And now you can talk about Krishna. You got them. You see? But see, Socrates did not go right away to the answer. He said, okay, now you don't know, and I don't know either. But one thing you said, and that should be our starting point, there was a lump of matter that exploded. Fine. Now the question is, do you think that if we analyze a lump of matter in this world, and like, for example, you say, let's take Rodin. Do you know who Rodin is? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he was a French sculptor. He started with a lump of marble, and then he made it into something wonderful. So, through comparison, we might be able to learn how this original lump became the material creation. He'll say, okay, because it's logical. There's no God involved in it, right? So then you talk about how Rodin purchased this marble, or maybe it was given to him, and then in that one piece of marble, he made this wonderful sculpture of the thinker. You can show him the picture of the thinker. You see? So now, by comparison, you had to have an intelligent person behind the explosion of that lump. Not only that, where did the lump come from? It had to come from that intelligent person. So that intelligent person is not like us. He's got to be way, way more powerful than us. And where did the lump come from? He produced it. He has to have some mystical power to produce it. Did he produce it from nothing? No, he could not have produced it from nothing. You can't make something from nothing. He produced it from himself, or from his or her own body. Just like your body, my friend, the atheist, is a chemical factory. You're producing wax, saliva, marrow, DNA, RNA, your bone, hair, blood vessels, blood. You know, you go through all the things that your body is producing, right? So your body's a chemical, and you have perspiration. So that means there's water coming out of your body, right? So therefore, there must have been someone original, much greater than any of us, and all this energy comes from that body. Just like your body is producing so many things, that body produced the lump, and he produced the match that blew it up, and he produced all the reactions by which that lump became the material creation.
Typically you tend to use the progress in the material progress, let's say in the last century, and when they say, see how we are more intelligent than 100 years ago in terms of, you know, but I think it's a misguided argument because it's
no, it's no. It only proves that there's intelligence behind anything that moves. They fit into the argument, into our model.
No, but their point is that as the intelligence has been evolving,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, but wait a minute. The pre-existing creation, they're like little children discovering Legos, right? And they can make nice things with the Legos, but it doesn't compare to what they're observing. You know, see, the seer realizes that the scene, all the objects of the scene are provided. The process of seeing is provided. The instruments of seeing is provided. They didn't create those things. But they can take them like Legos and put things together. And they say, well, there's bridges and there's submarines and there's tunnels and there's rockets and there's skyscrapers. Yeah, fine. That's like Legos compared to what you're seeing. Right? Okay, fine. But you're all intelligent. You're all persons. Right? You're not a lump of matter. You have consciousness. And the consciousness, we proved, is different than dead matter. And when that consciousness leaves your body's dead matter. So that consciousness is not the body. It's something else. Right? So, see, by comparison, so they say, yeah, we did this, we did that, fine. You did that because you're intelligent people. You got things moving because you were intelligent. Therefore, there's an intelligent person behind all movement. And the movement of the universe is proof that there's a supremely intelligent person, way, way beyond any human intelligence. And see, they have to admit that there was matter in the beginning. And whatever their explanation is of how that lump of matter became the universe, by comparison to what they're doing, yeah, there has to be a supremely intelligent person that made it move. Now, where did the matter come from? It came from the body of that supremely intelligent person, just like so many things are coming from your body. You got them in a vice, and you're tightening the vice until their head, until they say, stop, I accept, or the head explodes. You see? You got it? You try it. Maybe the first couple of times you'll fail, but when you get better at it and understand it more, they can't argue with you.
Try it right away.
Don't go to God right away. You have to keep asking these questions. But the pivotal point is when they admit that, yes, we can understand something by comparison to what we know. So the example of Rodin, the train set example, all these examples are because everything is supplied to us. The senses, the process of seeing, the objects of seeing, they're pre-existing to us. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. The name of Rodin? R-O-D-I-N. A very famous French sculptor, and he sculpted the thinker. You can see it in the Louvre Museum in France. I think that's where it is. Or maybe it's in the Rodin Museum in Paris, I forget. But you can go on the internet right away and see it. In fact, I'll pull it up right now. Here it is. Oh, actually, it's not marble, it's bronze. Anyway, he starts with a lump of bronze. Okay, Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, that's yours. Yeah, give this to your mom. Okay, she can have one too. Oh, well, you want to refine what I just said. Finish your homework now. The Socratic method. Just like here, I went through a lot of trouble putting these points together, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You should do the same thing for your argument. And don't go right away to God. You have to go very slowly to get there. Yeah. Huh? No, you tell me tomorrow. And go over it again with the information you got today. Make it more complete.